The arts industry has been decimated by the COVID-19 lockdowns, regulations, their livelihoods obliterated, and they've had to come up with creative ways to make money. Tonight I'm talking to the lead singer of the band GoodLuck, Jules Harding. Very good to have you with us on a Saturday night. I probably wouldn't be able to speak to you any other Saturday night because you'd be out performing. So that's the only reason I'm happy for the lockdown, so we get to speak to you. I guess this is just indicative of how hard it is, isn't it, when you can't get out there and do your thing?
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Jane. It's really nice to talk to you about this. It is. It's been the most challenging 18 or more months for our industry, and as performers, as artists, as people working in events, it's just been a complete and utter roller coaster. I think we have felt certainly like we are one of the hardest hit, if not the hardest hit industries, mainly because we were the first to kind of be shut down, and we know we're going to be the last to be reopened. And I think not enough people realize how many other industries are reliant on the music and entertainment industry existing. There are so many other industries that go hand in hand with this industry in particular, and being prevented from being able to work for up to 18 months is just not sustainable, not feasible for the large majority of anyone who is connected to this industry. So it's been very difficult, and we're at this point now where something has got to give quite soon. And
what is the psychological impact? I mean, listening to your music, going out and watching you makes everybody feel happy, it makes them feel alive. How do you work through this kind of trauma, I guess?
It's been very tough. I think I speak to my musician friends on a regular basis, and it's been so difficult because on the one hand, having a break from touring and in the beginning, having a break from touring, at least in the frantic lifestyle that we were all living, was a good thing, and I think we were all very honest about that for a month, for 2 months, for 3 months even, for some of us. But then it started to hit home that this wasn't going anywhere anytime soon. And I think, a lot of us felt really worried, really anxious, really drawn away from our passions. And when I speak to my musician friends on a regular basis, it's the same narrative. We're extreme highs and extreme lows right now. And I think the extreme highs come from the little glimmer of hope you get that this is looking like it might be coming to an end. And then the news that you get, we're going into another lockdown. And every time that happens, it's just catastrophic for you on so many different levels, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically. And yeah, it really has become a desperate situation. But we're a creative and resilient bunch of people, in general. I think for me as a musician, it's just been really worrying seeing the artists that rely on performances gig to gig, like the session musicians, and the technical companies and these kinds of people that really do rely 100% on gigs being able to take place. Those are the ones who have truly been the hardest hit during this pandemic.
This is probably going to be a short answer, but what support have you got from government?
None. Very little, shall we say very little. There has been the Departments of Arts and Culture have set up a fund. There have been, I believe, a couple of payouts, but it's been around the region of 10,000 Rand if you applied, if you got approved. And that's been a total amount for 18 months. So, if you divide that over 18 months, you can't live on that, and so that has been what's come out of it. And there was, I believe, a 300 million Rand fund that was reportedly lost. We don't know too much about that, but I think what's been very difficult for us as musicians is that we've never really been so obviously affected by corruption before, and suddenly we're being affected by it. And it's in a time where we really are just so desperate, as an industry. And it's kind of like a knife in the back to know that the government that, should be protecting and looking after us, unfortunately, are just not doing anything at the moment.
I think it's hit South Africans quite hard, hasn't it? The brutality and the cruelty behind this corruption, when you just realize that actually, very few people care. But talking about caring, tell us a little bit about your Feed Our Crew initiative and how that works.
Oh, that was a really nice thing to be able to do. It was facilitated by a corporate brand where they had a competition, and we had to go up against one of my favorite artists, Mafiki Zolo. So it was difficult because I didn't want to actually beat them because they're so cool and I love their music. But we ended up winning it, the challenge, and we were able to donate 50,000 Rand of this brand's money across to feed our crew, which is a fantastic initiative. It's been put together by a bunch of wonderful people who are really just helping those incredible guys who worked on gigs for us throughout the years, you know, rigging, lights, sound mixing, all the guys in the background who just don't get enough credit. And I think that's one thing that I've certainly learned, and I think a lot of musicians have, is that we owe those guys everything, you know, and they live gig to gig and haven't been able to, a lot of them haven't been able to put food on the table. I've heard horrific stories of people, you know, literally just being destitute, and even a few suicides. It's gotten to that level, you know. So for us to be able to have aided 50,000 Rands worth of meals and food vouchers was a really wonderful blessing that we could facilitate that.
Okay, so I'm sure, and thank you for that. I mean, that's a lovely initiative. Tell us what you're working on, what we can expect in the near future.
Well, you know, I've been posting a lot on social media. You might have seen just kind of sharing my thoughts on how neglected just the general conversation has been around the live events industry. And there's been a lot of people kind of positive and negative feedback, as there always is with social media. But a lot of our fan base and those who these posts have reached have come to me to say, well, it's cool that you're shining a light, but what do you actually want to do about it, you know? So in the next few days, we are going to be releasing a cover song of one of my favorite songs by a band called Crowded House, which I'm sure a lot of you know.
Oh, yeah.
And I just think the message in the song is really, really pertinent to what we're going through as the arts and entertainment industry right now. And we're going to be setting up a Back a Buddy fund, and every cent that we raise through that Back a Buddy fund will be going to the musicians who need it the most, and the technical crews who need it the most, the support the most. We're going to be facilitating a drive to get them a little bit of a reprieve now in the next few months, where they are going to be needing it since the industry is still shut down and winter is here and it's really dire out there.
Good for you, Jules. Lovely to talk to you. Can't wait to see you back on stage.
Thank you.
And we'll be looking forward to that, for that song. Thanks for your time this evening.